Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is July 7th, 2025, and we are in the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes. We're going to read chapter 4 today. Okay. Our author, we said, is Solomon, and he's looking at the fallen world from the fallen perspective and coming to the conclusion that all is vanity, vanity of vanities, vapor of vapor. It's not until he starts looking at it from the God perspective that life starts to make sense for us. We can't separate ourselves from God. If we do, that's death, and that leads us to a dead end. We saw him do a few things: wealth, his wisdom, possessions, pleasure, and finding the dead end in there, and he's starting to apply God to that and realizing, okay, now it makes a little bit of sense, but he's going to go back and try and take God back out of it in this section that we're getting ready to start today. And looking at work and saying, hey, you know what, if I'm just working for myself and I'm just working for my own wants and needs, then it's competition with everybody. I want to screw everybody over so I can get ahead. And that's not going to lead me anywhere. I'm just that workaholic, work, and then I die. What did I accomplish? I didn't accomplish much. I was selfish my entire life. Now, he does say that if you bring a second person into it, you start to get some sense. And that calls to mind Jesus is when asked what the greatest commandment is, he says, love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So loving our neighbor as ourselves, Solomon here is going to say, well, you know what, that does start to add a perspective that we need to make sense of the world. Now, he could fall short of equating that to God being in our lives and presence in our lives, and he goes back to vanity of vanities. But when we read Paul says, hey, you know what, if you're looking out for your fellow man, then you're loving God, because without God you wouldn't want to do that. You'd want to be who Solomon starts off with that selfish person who's just trying to get ahead and they don't care who they hurt to get there. Talks about kings, gives us two kings, a wise king and a young king, an old king and a young, and telling us that, hey, you know what, they both working and struggling and trying to build up their kingdom, and then they both die and the kingdom goes to somebody else. So again, without God in the picture, it's impossible to make sense of this fallen world. That's what we're supposed to be getting out of Ecclesiastes. So let's go ahead. We're going to read chapter 4 of Ecclesiastes. Then I returned and considered all the oppression that is done under the sun. And look, the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. On the side of their oppressors there is power, but they have no comforter. Therefore I praise the dead who were already dead, more than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. So it's hyperbole here. He's not really saying I wish I was never born, and actually meaning it, just like he said he hated work, he hated his life. Not necessarily true. It's that absolute rhetorical argument. And again, he's not putting God in there, so no wonder he's coming to the dead end. Let's pick it back up at 4. Again, I saw that for all toil and every skillful work, a man is envied by his neighbor. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better a handful with quietness than both hands full, together with toil and grasping for the wind. Then I returned, and I saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone without companion. He has neither son nor brother. Yet there is no end to all his labors, nor is his eye satisfied with riches. But he never asks, for whom do I toil and deprive myself of good? This also is vanity and a grave misfortune. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fail, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who will be admonished no more. For he comes out of prison to be king. Although he was born poor in his kingdom, I saw all the living who walk under the sun. They were with the second youth who stands in his place. There was no end of all the people over whom he was made king. Yet those who come afterward will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and grasping for the wind. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.